Hey guys, welcome back once again to these Q&A videos. We are on number 11 of who knows how many, and it's getting pretty late, so I am going to keep on plucking and hopefully we can get these finished up in a timely manner. Brenden Westman, why are you so nice? What was the last dream you had? I would say that if I am first of all honored and humbled by the fact that you find me to be a nice and amiable chap, and I think a lot of that has to do with some of the values and understandings that my parents instilled in me. I'm very thankful to them all the way to this day that I was fortunate enough to have a mother and father who respected me enough to hold me to some higher standards of behavior and actions, and I think that my way of interpreting and understanding the world is mostly a direct result of the love, attention, care that they gave me, and also the experiences that I've had in the world. I've had some negative ones and some great ones, and I always want to produce great ones like I've had with other people, and I want to limit the negative ones, and so I think that really drives my behaviors, and if you see that as nice, I appreciate that very much, and that's how I structure my behaviors. What was the last dream you had? I couldn't tell you. At least to my knowledge, I don't dream anymore. That's kind of a weird thing. What do you mean you don't dream? I just haven't had a dream that I could really recollect in probably 2 or 3 years. It just stopped happening, and when I sleep, and then I wake up, and then I'm awake, and that's how it goes. It's just this time in between that I don't really have anything to account for. Nathan Hooper, why do you constantly get all the boring stuff done when you could be doing other funner things instead of foam rolling in every morning or doing repetitive accessory work? Why do you do it? I'm just wondering because I'm finding it hard to be strong beyond the barbell in life. I think that it's the way you perceive it. It's your perception of the situation. If you think of it as being a boring thing, and in the video that I posted where I talked about it being kind of the boring stuff that I'm not personally all that interested in, you have to change the way you look at it so that it becomes less about doing this thing that you don't care about and more about something that's adding to your ability to grow in the things that you are interested in. And you have to make the connection that it is part of the rest of it, and it exists as this big all-encompassing thing, and it's not just in weightlifting, it's in anything that you're committed to. If there's stuff that goes on outside of your practicing and development and training for that specific activity, you have to embrace that. Whether in music, one of the biggest things for me is when we get arias or classical music to work on, a lot of the time they're in other languages, and the fun part is knowing the song and performing the song and getting a reaction and interacting with an audience. That's the part I always found the most enjoyment from, and the part that I struggled the most with would be figuring out the language differentials and doing translations and those little detail things. I'd rather just know that. I don't want to go word by word and figure out what everything means when I'm singing in German or in French or in Italian or in Spanish or in Latin. I want to get to this other goal, the performance, but you have to do those other things to make that happen. And so if you look at it as part of the journey and part of what's included to be involved in all of it, and you want to be part of the full thing, it takes a certain amount of doing the stuff that maybe isn't as enjoyable immediately, but if you shift your focus, I find it easier to enjoy those things. So that's been my experience anyway. Demir Husejnovic, body weight 195, dips 100, okay, but bench press. Okay, so he has pretty decent weighted dips. His bench press isn't much higher than that. I'd say strong triceps, possibly weak chest, even though it's big. Shoulders, or does it make sense? Relative high number. Advice for leg drive in the sumo. Okay, so this seems like a really, really specific question. I really don't have an answer right now in the moment. I'd have to look over more of what you're talking about and possibly I'll do my best. If your dips are 100, if you can do a weighted dip 100 pounds for a 5x5, but your bench is only 190 for the same rep range, I'd say, I don't know, maybe check the range of motion on your dips. If you're doing a full dip with that, that doesn't really make sense. Maybe there's some sort of injury, or something does not add up if you're doing that many weighted dips at that weight range and your bench isn't higher than that. I think it should be much more, or these numbers make sense relative to each other. I really don't know. I haven't compared it, but that does sound like there's an imbalance somewhere and there's energy that's being lost somewhere, possibly a technique thing, maybe not even a muscle weakness. Maybe your bench technique is just could be brought up and you have a really, really efficient dip technique. I'm not really sure without seeing it. And then for leg drive and the sumo tend to shoot up and the legs not used so much. Think about bringing your pelvis closer to the bar and don't let the bar get in front of you. A lot of time their hips shoot up when the bar is in front and their shoulders are hunched forward and they're not keeping their hips close to the bar. Make sure that you fight to get into that position, and that'll keep your hips from rising. If they're pushing towards the bar, they can't also be going up and away from the bar. So that's my advice there. Justin Waltman, would you ever, he's got multiple. Would you ever consider starting a type of form check service? I know a lot of people would pay for your personalized advice. Justin, in the future, when I'm done with school, one of my hopeful intentions is to start working more in depth with the online lifting community, be that through YouTube or some of those things, offering some sort of program design and working with people possibly on a client basis, because I'm doing personal training now. I'm planning and intending to get my CSCS sometime in the next couple of years once I graduate, and trying to coach. I would love to coach. I love helping people get to their goals. I'm just really bad at asking for money from people, and that's something that I'll have to figure out in the future. Right now I try to help as much as I can in general, but I don't know, right? I can't tell you off the top of my head if it's going to be something like a form check service or if it's going to be more inclusive than that, with, you know, working with specific clients like a lot of other powerlifting coaches do. My friend and I are having competition. You can see you can get to a 600-pound deadlift first. So can you please say the following words in your video? Oh no. Don't make me do something that's mean. No, I just talked about how I'm a nice guy. It says in quotations, I place a hex on you, Jason Torshi. You will not pull 600 before your much stronger and much more handsome friend. Well, I think that the only way to, I'm not really into the whole hex idea and thinking that's effective, so if you want to beat your friend to a 600-pound deadlift, you're just going to have to outwork him and do that. If you guys want to make that a thing, then go ahead and do it. Oh man. I can't actually hex your friend. I'm sorry, Justin. Jason, I don't actually hex you. I was just reading of a quote, so it shouldn't count, right? Anders Bylund, doing ICF, Ice Cream Fitness Novice Program. Fail every time on a 290 squat. Hips raised too fast, turns into a good morning. Have reset it like 10 times now. Still can't get over 290. Jason says you should hit 315 for the 5x5 on this program. Keep pushing and it will come. Or if you're failing and you've failed it 10 times and you reset it, it may be, I think Jason will be the first person to tell you that it's not a cookie cutter situation, and it never is, and there is probably some weakness that is preventing you from getting to that level, and that number specifically, and I feel pretty confident that Jason would agree in saying that there's a certain amount of individualism that comes into certain issues like that, and so he's probably giving a blanket generalization saying you should be able to hit 315. That seems like normal progress for someone with a very standard set of strengths, weaknesses, and understanding and lifting experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean it applies to everybody. In fact, it really doesn't apply to everybody. So I would say you may want to adjust your strategy as far as maybe find a different kind of programming. Maybe you hit your plateau earlier than you anticipated, and some changes need to be made. Technique needs to be addressed. If you're having an issue every time you get close to that weight, you shouldn't be failing lifts you shouldn't be failing lifts. You shouldn't be working to failure as a powerlifter. You want to continue to improve and develop motor patterns that don't include missing things in them. So I would suggest looking over it, or finding something else maybe to do, or bringing the weights down and working some technique to keep you from having those particular issues. So I hope that helps. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, rating, comment, subscribe. All the fun stuff there. Follow along on Instagram, Twitter, all that other good stuff. And I still have so many more of these questions to go, but I am committed to finishing this tonight. And it won't even make sense to you guys, because you're going to see these videos all in their separate glory, but they are all done in one night. So however many it says down in the title of this is the whatever out of the whatever, yeah, that's a thing. So I'll see you guys soon. Thanks again. Bye.